Today's episode is brought to you in part by philpmarchingfx.com. With 20 years' experience designing for your indoor and outdoor marching arts teams, their passion is to help creatively showcase your performers while making performances memorable for your audiences. For drill, staging, prop fabrication, and so much more, check out philpmarchingfx.com. That's PHILP, marching, the letters FX.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Flags in a Gym, a podcast dedicated to all things color guard. My name is Eric. I'm your host and resident color guard nerd, and today's episode is another installment in our program showcase series, and this time we're featuring Revival Winterguard. I sat down with directors Samantha and Adam Faircloth, where we discussed the history of the Revival program, their design processes, what it's like seeing the top Scholastic World Guards every week at a local show, having a baby during the Indy Regional, their 2025 production, and more. So sit back, relax, and let's talk some color guard. Hi, how are you?
Great.
Good.
Well, welcome. I am sitting down with some people from Revival Winterguard. We are sitting with Samantha and Adam Faircloth. And I know, Adam, you are the directors. Samantha, how about you? What is your position with the Guard?
I guess you could call me the assistant director and choreographer and tech.
A little bit of
And
everything.
I have a hand in all the roles. So
Before we get too far into it, let's go ahead and do a quick introduction. Tell everybody about yourself, kind of your history within the activity. And Samantha, I'll have you go first.
I am from Greenwood, Indiana. I now live in Indianapolis on the southeast side in Fountain Square. I started Color Guard in 2006. I went to Center Grove High School and I spun all 4 years there. After high school, I went and marched 2 summers at the Blue Stars and I aged out at the Phantom Regiment. And I also marched 3 years of Onyx Independent World. And basically, I've been teaching ever since 2010, but I've only taught in the Indiana area, all around the Indianapolis area. But I've been teaching for about 15 years now.
That's awesome. I'm so jealous you went to Center Grove. I marched Cavies, and I think in 2002 we stayed at Center Grove High School, and I was just walking through the halls like I was in the Met Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. I'm just like, oh my God, I am in the Center Grove High School.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for my experiences there.
Adam, how about you?
I'm originally from a small town outside Raleigh, North Carolina, Clayton, North Carolina. Went to Clayton High School, graduated there. I actually didn't start my color guard stuff until my senior year. I was in the band program. I was a percussionist growing up and even into college some. And I started spending, like I said, my senior year of high school. Then during college, I marched my first 2 years of independent color guard at First Flight in 2006 and 2007. And then I wound up marching the Boston Crusaders in 2007 and 2008. And then in 2008, I moved out to California and marched Corona World for a year. Then moved back to the Carolinas after that season to do some more schooling and wound up marching Crown Guard the winter of 2009 when it was based out of Atlanta. Did the gypsy lifestyle, moved to the Midwest, and in 2010, I marched a small independent A-Guard called Consortio that wound up turning into the Zydeco Open staff the following year. So we were out for 1 year in 2010, and then 2011, I marched Zydeco World, and then 2012, I moved to Orlando, Florida, and the last season I performed with Orlando Visual World. And then I've been teaching all over, taught in the Carolinas or the Central Florida, Orlando area, taught a while when I was living in Dayton and working there, and then moved to Indianapolis and have been here for about 10 years. And I work now full-time. I'm a designer and a project manager at Dance Sophisticates, so had humble beginnings, started sewing flags in the flag room and worked my way up and learned from some great people there and have been designing for about a year and a half now.
That's
And
awesome. So you have a
yeah,
huge color guard resume.
yeah, I was a color guard gypsy. And I'm also currently the director at Franklin Central High School here in Indianapolis. This is starting year 7.
Wow, that's awesome. And 2008 Corona, was that a case of you?
No, that was it as well with my soul the year
Oh,
before.
gotcha.
But
Okay.
Had
we
the
were,
blue and orange uniforms that changed depending on the male or female voice.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. How
yeah.
was that marching under Shapiro?
It was great. I actually is one of my favorite choreographers of all times and teachers. He was actually the caption head at the Boston Crusaders in 2007 when I marched, and that's the reason why I followed out there to march and to continue learning under him.
That's awesome. That's a brain I would love to get inside. The way his brain like works and writes choreography. Just
Yeah,
you're
Yeah.
seeing Corona the Guard.
musicality.
It's just
Yeah,
like,
I marched
and
under him at Blue Stars, and I learned more in those 2 summers than I have like in 10 years. He's fantastic.
yeah. So we're here to talk about Revival, which is based out of Indianapolis, where you are now, which I kind of call the Indianapolis area a color guard mecca. I mean, so many programs there. I mean, just the high schools alone. I mean, it's just insane of the groups that are there. And this will be your 4th season upcoming. When did Revival originate, or how did it originate? Who wanted to start the Guard? Who kind of got the idea?
it's always been something I wanted to do. It's actually funny. My last year performing at Orlando Visual, we had an awards banquet, and I got the award for most likely to have their own color guard. And I knew then that I always wanted to have a color guard, an independent color guard of my own. So we had experimented in the pandemic with a group of friends that we had worked together in several places, and a designer that's a close friend of ours, and we brought out an independent world guard during the pandemic called The Collective. And it was only out for a year, and we kind of knew then. And once real life started, we kind of split and went our own ways because we were teaching, and life happened and readjusting. But then I knew I wanted to do something, so it was kind of like there was myself, and I knew Samantha. Well, I convinced Samantha to get on board. And then one of our close friends, who's the designer at Revival, Greg Hagan, we were kind of into it, and we knew we wanted to give it another shot in a real season, real environment. What we did with the collective was amazing because we did in-person shows and we did everything we could and did the virtual stuff. But we knew we wanted to take a group to Dayton and see what it was all about. So we kind of pulled the trigger and said, "Here we go," and haven't looked back since.
That's awesome. Yeah, those COVID years. I mean, it's crazy to think that it was 5 years ago now, but just how it almost killed the activity. I mean, nobody knew what was going to happen, and season shut down 4 weeks before Dayton, and
Hmm.
it's just crazy that we've been able to recover so quickly. Thankfully.
Absolutely.
Right. And it
How
was
did you
great
assemble?
providing that experience for kids during that year too.
Yeah, everybody in the masks and just seeing how creative people could get,
Yes.
Absolutely.
in those settings, really
Yes.
pushed your creative mindsets. How did you assemble your staff and decide who would take on what role when you were creating Revival?
It was kind of we have a close knit group of friends that were all kind of eager to jump onto something. So it was kind of it started out as I knew I would be there every weekend and Samantha would be there every weekend, and then it was kind of our friend group like come when you can. You want to come write and teach. I mean, everybody on staff has groups and stuff like that. So the interesting thing with the revival is it's very organic in the nature. When we're writing and teaching, we hang out together and we talk about what things need to be. But we just started. I started asking people that I trusted and that I valued what their teams looked like, because I think that was really important, is having the same values in what we want the product to look like and the experience for the members to be.
And what is it like teaching, running a program with your spouse? I mean, many of us in the activity, we marry or we're partnered with somebody that is outside the band world, and you try to explain it to them, they never understand it, and you're gone every weekend, and they're getting frustrated. And then you see these couples that do it together. And so, how does that work? How did you meet within the activity?
We did. I was actually teaching at a school in Indianapolis. I was teaching at Lawrence Township, and someone on staff there is actually Adam's best friend. And after I left Lawrence Township, Adam came up to teach there and we met through a mutual friend. So
Yeah.
that's how that happened.
So we met and it's really cool. I mean, it's sometimes I know she wants to strangle me and I want to strangle her when we're doing it, but it's pretty cool that we've been able to build a life doing both what we love, you know. She,
That and it's easy to have a partner and a spouse that gets it, and I feel like it
Absolutely.
would be really hard to do if you were trying to work with or married to someone who doesn't get it or who
Especially at the
wants it.
level that you're doing it at.
right.
Yes.
If you're just teaching a little regional local high school, you're not super competitive. You're not going to date and it's not that involved. But you working with
Yes.
Franklin Central High School and then having a highly competitive independent open program on top of it, you're busy.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. There are weeks at times where we're at school 7 days a week, you know, through the weekend. So I think having each other to do it together makes it worthwhile too, because we've had some great experiences and some of the best experiences of my color guard career have been through the independent team or the high school teams that we worked together with. So, you know, it's awesome to share that with your spouse.
I also think it's a great opportunity for Lucas, our son, to experience this world and get out and travel with us. He does come to shows with us on the weekends.
He
Every
loved
now
it.
and then, yeah, if he's not at grandma and grandpa's, he's with us. But he loves it. He has started spinning his own equipment. He knows the name of it. He will stop of each piece of equipment. He will stop and watch anytime he sees color guard or band or drum corps. But I really enjoy him being brought up in this activity and being in this atmosphere.
I love that. I love it. And for so young and already knowing like the names of the equipment, that's really great.
Yeah.
I've
Yep.
talked with some people at DPG and they were all drum corps babies and they're talking about being at finals 2, 3 weeks old. So it's just start the love early.
Yeah, when we get through and talk about the years, there's a great story. I'm be glad to share about him and kind of what made a particular season really special.
Are there any other staff members you want to shout out or recognize that have really just been a kind of like a rock or really helpful for you throughout your years at Revival?
Really, all the staff for me has made it such a really good experience because it is such a collaboration. Everyone's input is valued, and we try to take all those bits and pieces and put it together. But there are staff members that have been there since the very beginning.
Yeah. Kind of the backbone of it is Greg Hagan, our designer. He's a close friend and mentor. We've been working with him with our high school teams now for about 10 years. So we've gotten really close with him, and he's more family than friend, I think, these days. But he's been around since the beginning. Reese Davis is a close friend of ours, and he's from the Indianapolis area, and he's been with us all 4 years. And then Markel Allen and Ian Hare, they moved up. They're also from the Carolinas, and they've been on staff, and they're some of the ones that are there most consistently almost every weekend. So they're kind of what keeps us afloat. And
Been there since the very beginning,
yeah,
too, all
yeah,
4 years.
everybody's been great because, like I said, the independent world, especially when you're just getting started, is kind of a labor of love. So anybody that's willing to come and give their time and their talents to us and stuff like that, we're more than appreciative of, and I'll buy them as many dinners as we can afford.
Do you all work together at any of the high schools outside of Revival? I know you're working at Franklin Central. Do you help at Franklin Central as well, Sam? Or
Yeah, I am the assistant director there.
awesome. So you all stay very busy.
Yep,
Yes.
And this year's Franklin Central, was that like the Beethoven's Ninth or something like
yep,
that? Okay.
Hmm.
Trying to
yep.
remember.
So, yep,
I saw so many shows this year.
yep.
Same.
That was us.
As we mentioned, you debuted in 2023 and your show that year was The Chain, and you came out in Independent Open. Why did you decide to come out as an open guard as opposed to A or World?
I think that was we had kind of during the pandemic did experimented in it with a world class color guard. We weren't sure what we were going to get, so we thought there were definitely some world class performers, but then some younger performers that were right out of high school. So we thought open would be a good middle of the road place to start, and then after that first season, we would reevaluate and see if we were in the appropriate class based on the membership because it had been a year or two since we had done anything. So we really didn't know what we were getting coming in for a first year group.
And not only that, this is technically our first time designing and putting together a staff for an independent group. So we wanted to test the waters first, and we felt the most confident here at first. But as the years go by, we're growing in that confidence.
Yeah, I mean, you're being very successful, so I would say the confidence is warranted. With so many scholastic world programs in your area, I mean, we're going to talk about it later, but I mean, you have Carmel, Avon, Warren Central, Northview. I mean, the list goes on and on. Is it make it easier to recruit talent? Do a lot of those kids stay local? Do they leave to go college elsewhere?
Well, our first year, we didn't have any of those kids. So a lot of them do go March world class programs because they've got world class experience already. As we're growing, we're starting to see more of that caliber kid come to Revival, and that's very exciting. But a lot of kids we had come over our first year, we had a big influx of kids coming from the Chicago area the last few years.
Oh wow,
So
how far of a travel is that from Indianapolis? I don't know Midwest.
we
About 3 hours, but some of them would drive and meet people at Purdue because we do have students from Purdue who march with us at Purdue University. So they would stop, meet them there, and then drive down. And that's only about 2 hours from Chicago-ish.
Yeah, we had some that traveled up to 4 hours one way.
Oh wow. I guess I really can't say anything because I live in Northern Virginia and I went up to Delaware to March Apex. So and I know people that live in Southern Virginia that go up to Fusion. So they
Right.
take the train every weekend. So after 2023, we move on to the next year, 2024. You make finals in Independent Open, placing sixth with your show
Yeah.
Aurora. Huge jump. Also, stunning floor, by the way. That show, I remember seeing you in 23, but I didn't really remember it. And then I was
Yeah.
like 24. I'm like, wow. I'm like, who's this guard? I'm like, this is beautiful. What do you think was the catalyst for that big jump over the previous year, that huge jump in success?
We learned a lot in
Yeah.
2023. It was just 2023 for us was get a show out there, get a cast. We had I believe 18 members at auditions in 2023. So year one was just about getting through. I mean, we the goal was
Well,
to go,
getting through, but creating something that kids are going to remember and
yep,
be excited about seeing. Like, oh, that's the show with the chains, or oh, like this is that new group from Indianapolis. I really
right.
like their music,
Right.
etc.
When we're talking about shows, we want to do something that would be a great recruiting tool, something that was upbeat and fun. So we kind of checked that off. We got through Dayton. We didn't even make semifinals that first year. We did a one and done in Dayton and then kind of talked as a group. Now that we've done it and been through a year, what's the next thing? And we wanted to really set the tone the next year and say that we're serious and have a little more of an artistic identity.
Well,
Um,
and we did a lot of social media pushing for the clinics as well. I remember I wrote down, we had a pretty large turnout at that spring clinic and then that following preseason clinic right before Aurora auditions. So I think that also helped too. Just kids experiencing what we're about, seeing the staff,
yeah.
seeing the environment really helped.
Yeah, I remember the color guard doubled in size that next year, and it was all about we were talking with Greg, who the show I had talked to him about. I wanted the show to be a feeling, and I had never done a choral piece before, but I didn't want to do a typical choral piece that everybody has done. And he's a master at taking information and kind of observing what you want and digging in because his musical repertoire and knowledge and just he's so well versed in music. He came back to this piece we were eating dinner at our house and he played the music the first time and I was like, that's it. And he talked to us and he's like, it's just about the Northern Lights, and it was the piece Northern Lights. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, what's it about? And he's like, the
That
feeling when you see it.
he's like, don't
And
read in too deep to it.
yeah, and it was kind of we heard it and it was breathtaking and beautiful and I was like, yes, that's what we want to do.
And the voiceover is actually from a documentary. Um,
Yeah, we
Oh,
extracted, we cut everything together that year, soundtrack wise, and put it together, and it was a fun project. And Greg and Ross Werner did a great job with the floor design. Thomas Thawley from Dance Sophisticates did a great job with the costuming that year, and he was on staff that year, and he did a fantastic job, and it was great. We knew at the time that year we also had to be prepared because Samantha was pregnant at the time, and we debuted at that first Avon Regional. We had to watch prelims because we were in the hospital having our son Lucas. So we missed that. And I remember watching it, and it was pretty magical. Like I watched the prelims run, and I got choked up because we had been in the hospital for a week, or since Tuesday.
which
And
that's a whole other story.
so we watched the prelims run, and the color guard was breathtaking. They were stunning, and I knew we were on to something. Like I knew that year was going to be something special, just because the performers, killed it. There were things absolutely, but they were confident. It was a new color guard, and they seemed like they were about business. And the staff was great about making sure that we didn't have to worry about anything. You
Well,
know,
and I remember for finals the next day, I was still in the hospital and I told Adam, I said, just go.
Yeah.
I'll be okay.
She was sick of me. She'd been trapped with me in the
Well,
hospital
I
for a
wanted you to
week.
experience that with them because I could tell that it was a turning point within the program and people noticing us, and I wanted him to be in the same room as that.
And they were just as amazing at the Indy finals that next day. But yeah, they were phenomenal. And then, we've never looked back since, it's been that I felt like we had stepped in the room after that prelims performance and had an identity. And okay, I saw it and I was like, this is what revival is. And it was received really well, and people said that they liked it. And that's our big thing, is like we want to have a place where people like the shows that we do, and that we're able to be creative and try things that aren't typical. Sometimes we take a risk, and sometimes it pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. But it's a really fun
That's
environment, and
that's
we
how you learn.
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and I do remember some things about the show. I remember you had a killer flag soloist.
Yes.
That was like probably a good third of the show. I'm like, wow, like this kid's
Yeah.
good. And I just remember it just being very beautiful,
Yeah.
and it's, you take the Northern Lights, it's very easy to make the Northern Lights beautiful. You just put that on the floor and you're like, done. It's already
Yes.
beautiful. I do love that, for your first year, you thought, let's just get through a season. We'll make it entertaining, engaging for kids. They're like, oh, they look a lot of fun. I want to go march there. I think that's a smart decision, especially for a new program, because as we know, things are super expensive, and the more kids you have, the less they have to pay, and you're
Yeah.
more financially stable that way. Were you surprised at all by the success of 2024? Like you say, you're watching it from the hospital room, and were you totally surprised by that, or were you just like,
I wasn't, but I was surprised by, I don't know, the end result of just how they held on to it the
mm,
entire season. Because I personally, I always get that anxiety of like, oh, how do we recreate this? When you have a really good show, you hope that they get in the mindset of getting consistent and doing it again. I'm like, oh, please, let's hang on to this. Like, how do we get them to keep going? But they
keep
did.
getting better,
They
not peak early?
Yes,
Yeah.
but they did, and it was hard mid-season, I will say, for a little bit, but they held on to it at the end, and the end result was just breathtaking.
I knew the show as we were developing it was much more sophisticated, and it had a mystique and a maturity to it that the previous year didn't. But when you're in your gym, when you get back and you get it in costume in front of people, it's different. And the color guard, the way they walked, they stood a little taller. And like I said, seeing it, once we got it out there at that regional, I knew it was real, and it had a little bit of magic to it. And that, like I said, that was a turning point for us. Like I knew we were better, but I didn't realize how much better we were until that moment.
I noticed it at one of the MIPA shows we went to. I remember walking in the hallway. I was in the front leading the color guard to warm up, and I could hear high school kids.
Oh,
I
oh,
was
there
like,
they
"Oh
are.
my gosh,
That's them.
that's the Northern Light show. That's Revival." Like, we got to run in the gym and go see them, and like the members were hearing it too, and just their faces were it was great. They lit up.
Yeah. I'm always pretty oblivious to that because I'm
I'm not.
I'm all logistics when we get to show. Like we've got to be here, we've got to get the props there, the floor's got to go. So
I'm the mom of the group taking pictures and
yeah,
like
so
So Adam, you're the stressor, and then Sammy, you're the one that keeps everybody glued together. Yeah,
yes.
there's always in every teaching pair there's one of each.
yeah.
I was like you, Sam. I was like the one who's like I'll handle the kids, and the partner that I taught with,
Yeah.
her name's Stephanie. She was the stressor, and she's like, we got to be in warm up in 12 minutes, and the kids aren't here. I'm like,
Yes.
fine, we're fine.
If I do have to step into director mode, I will though, but most of the time I'm the mom.
Did you feel any extra pressure going into 25 after having that huge jump in success in 24?
I think
A
so.
little.
I think there's just an expectation when you have success like that. So we had an expectation of not wanting to let the members down, to not wanting to disappoint the audience and the community as well. So I don't necessarily. I think it was a motivating pressure. I don't think it was never a negative pressure. It was we had a lot more drive, I believe. And we enjoyed the season, so I think it helped us believe in ourselves a little bit more as a team and that okay, we don't give ourselves enough credit and we want to keep going with this and see how far we can push it.
Awesome. Before we talk about 2025, I do want to just kind of pick your brain about kind of how what your design process is like, because it's always fun to hear how people get their shows on the floor and come up with the ideas. So, when are you starting the concept and planning stages? Are you those people that are at Dayton already planning for next year, like playing songs for each other in the van rides, or do you take a break?
I would say we about 2 months ago, in the summer
Yeah, in
usually.
the summer we'll talk with Greg. Like I said, he is the brainchild of all of our shows. He's got so much experience in the activity that he we talk about a feeling or he tells us kind of actually I remember every year after finals night, after I go to world class finals, I'll call him and we'll talk because he's had his time and he's always working on the next thing. So he normally very rarely comes to Dayton. But I always talk to him in the last few years. We kind of do a debrief of how the show was live and who we liked and stuff. And then he plants a seed of what he thinks it could be for the following year. Sometimes that seed changes, it'll turn into something else, but we'll do that. And then we work at a few programs together. So when we're in the car, he and I will play music, what he's feeling, or if I found something new, and we just talk about, what we like about it or what we don't. And then during the summer, we do our drum corps watch parties or we'll go to shows. And that's when the three of us get together and we'll talk a little bit more. Or he has an idea, he'll hone it in.
We try to talk and stay on the topic of what feels like revival
Yeah.
or what feels like our identity. And we try not to stray from that now.
What would
And
you say that identity is?
it's a feeling that's been the last few years since Aurora is we like putting shows out there that we want to draw the audience in a different way. So we're trying to figure out different ways to create effect that aren't your standard vertical moments. Now we'll have our fair share of those, but the challenge is for us is to, with Aurora was my favorite moment of the show was the ending. It was a down ending and it was quiet and I felt like at the end everybody kind of held their breath for a moment and you could hear a pin drop and then everybody went nuts and that was cool because we wanted to see how long we could stretch that tension before the rubber band snapped. Everything is a feeling and it's got to look good on the kids. So we do a lot of workshopping. Greg will come in and we'll stage something or just to see what bodies look like in the space, or we'll teach a combination to a feeling just so he can get a sense of how they move or what their performance strengths are. sorry to stray, but I think our identity is to have a little bit of mystery and to leave people guessing, hopefully, what's next. Because every year I think has been a little bit of the year before, but then we take it in a slightly different direction. We don't want to be one of those color guards that jumps from one complete style to a different, and you never know. People like the shows that we've, or at least I hope they like the shows we've put out the last few years. So we want to keep a little taste of that, but then continue to develop it and try new things in a forward direction.
Yeah, I can see that. And, to your point of a down ending, I look at Phantom Regiment from this past summer.
Hmm.
I absolutely loved the ending of their show. And it was just so, like you said, you're waiting for that pin to drop and then the crowd just goes nuts. So I think with Aurora, very successful. And for me, as a viewer, I would say your identity is like you are very sophisticated, but also very thematic. Like I feel with
Yeah.
Aurora and Transcendent, your show this past season, the theming is very strong. And I think it across all facets of the program. And I think that's kind of your trademark. And you're only been around for 3 years. So, it's not like Onyx has been around forever. That has like a true trademark, but you're
Right.
developing one. And it's just like, I feel like the theming of your concepts is very strong and very clear.
Well, awesome. I think that's a great compliment to the team because not only to our design team, but also to the choreographers, to the technical team, we're big on once we have a theme, trying to make the technical program support those ideas to where, the theme is throughout. So that's something we talk about a lot, and I think that's awesome. We'll take it.
How do you make that final decision of this is what we're doing? Is it
Oh,
just a result of that whittling down and just the continuous conversations and you're like, yeah, this sounds good?
For
Or
for me, it's a feeling of like, yes, I know the technical staff is going to be able to pull this off. And I know, or I'll have a feeling of, yes, we're going to get the kids to be able to portray whatever theming or messaging we're trying to get across or buy into the character. You, me, and Greg coming together and all agreeing. All
yeah.
of us have to agree on it.
Yeah, and he's been great about that, listening to what our wants list and what we think. And he knows us well. Like I said, we've been working together for 10 years. So he knows our strengths, our weaknesses, and what we're into, what inspires us. So that's the big thing. If we're inspired by it, then we can give the kids a great product and get them inspired by it. So that's kind of it. And we get together and we'll have dinner and we'll play music, and we just kind of know when we hit it, and we know. But he hasn't been far off the mark with any of them, like he's got great experience and is great at what he does. So he's made it pretty easy, to trust him in that role to kind of bring what he does to the table.
And we
that's
feel
awesome.
comfortable telling him if we don't like something
Yeah.
too. So,
Very important. Very important in collaboration. You got to be able to say no and
yes.
and hear no.
Right.
Yes.
How do you make sure you guys don't end up in a hope situation? or or what do you do to try to make sure you don't end up in a hope situation?
Well, I will say, and I remember you talking about it in previous podcasts. All of those Hope shows were fantastic in their own right and
They
different
were.
in every way. I do think that the direction that we've taken our identity hopefully will get us off of that. We're not, um, I don't know how to.
Like a pop current music kind of
Yeah,
group.
yeah, we
Yeah.
did. The three of us are avid music lovers, so we talked about doing the chain because we went the Greg, Samantha, and I went to a Stevie Nicks concert together, and you were like, we should do a Stevie Nicks show for the first year, and that's how the chain came because it would be fun.
Well, that
Um,
and the metaphorical, like the chain, the very first group, like there's a bond there too.
but I think just with the identity and being a little more, I don't want to be cliche, but we're trying to be a little more artistic and forward thinking in that. So I would say most of the time a pop thing isn't something that we would do. It's not our cup of tea. Or if we would try to
And let
find a
yeah.
different cover of it or a different way of creating it and stuff like like that.
Yeah,
There are
unless
people,
it fits our like style niche or just what we really like, we probably won't use anything current most of the time. But
yeah, yeah, and everything that we have used that it's a mainstream song like last year is a different, completely different version of a Radiohead song.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Transcendent was a Radiohead song. Pyramid Song is
Oh, very
two
cool.
versions of it like
yeah,
combined. So
Yeah, I felt bad for all the Hope Guards because honestly, the song is great for Color Guard because of just
yeah.
all the ups and downs. And I know those people find it like, we can do so much with this. And so
Yes.
did 15 other guards. They all, they all had that
yeah,
same
I love
conversation.
I loved that they were all so different though, and there wasn't like a copy paste of five different versions.
True. Very
I
true.
never
Yeah.
got tired
But
of watching them because
yeah,
I find the intrigue in how they all do them differently. So I
yeah,
always we talk about what if there was a classification of color guard where everybody had to do the same song? Everybody's artistic take on it,
Well,
how
Santa
can
Clara
we
did that. Oh God. I don't remember the year, but they called the show like Triptych or something like that. And it was three movements.
yes,
And they had three separate designers come in. They all had the same like 2 minute piece of music. So it
Mhm.
was literally
yes.
the same 2 minutes three times, but it was like
Different
three
Oh
designs?
my
three
gosh.
mini shows.
I was marching Onyx that year, and I remember standing in the tunnel, and whenever I hear their music start, I get such an anxiety like attack. But I loved watching it, and I love the middle section. The middle part of Triptych was my favorite.
But no, I agree with you. I mean, I remember years ago on Facebook, there was a conversation of how can you reinvigorate, WGI, and there was the idea of treat it like the Met Gala, give independent world a theme, like whether it's like chasing boundaries or something like that, and just see what people do, where they have to stay
Yeah.
within a theme,
Uh-huh.
to kind of because color guard started to get very samey across all the classes. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
but I think we've now stepped away from that. You had the infusion of energy into world with amp, with the Joker year, infuse some life into world. Now people want to do that. And all these people using hope last year and all the different variations of it. I mean, Phoenix with
Yeah.
those mirrors, Warren Central with those benches. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
could watch Warren Central over and over again. I loved it.
Same.
Loved it so
We're
much.
we're lucky we see them a lot being in the indie area.
I'm jealous. I went to the East Power Regional. When I saw they were on the schedule, I lost my mind. I'm like, I had to go to the bathroom so bad. But I'm like, they are coming on the floor. I'm going to hold
You're
it.
like, I'll hold it.
I am not missing this. But let's talk about your 2025 season and the production Transcendent. So you mentioned it was a cover of two Radiohead songs.
It was
Or-
the same, two different versions of a Radiohead song, Pyramid Song. And it started on a car ride. Greg and I going up. We had about a 2 hour car ride to a group that we would teach. It was in the summer, and I think it was we were heading to a band camp or a rehearsal right after a band camp. And he's like, "What do you think about this?" And he played the version. It was just a choral piece, and of course I liked it. I liked it, but I was like, "It's a little thin." And he's like, "Yeah, I know what to do with it." And I was like, "Okay," because we had cut plenty of soundtracks together, and I was like, "I'm glad you know what to do with it because I don't." We actually talked about we were lucky enough and brought in a sound designer, a great friend of ours that has done some marching band arrangement, Ben Hilton, that lives in I believe the Myrtle Beach area. We contacted him because he was the one that created original music to go over it. So all of the sounds that gave it that authentic feel, there were stringed instruments and all of that. If you remember the kind of breakdown section in the middle, that was
Right when the
all,
rifles came out, right?
yeah, that
Yeah.
was all original composition that he
That and
laid over.
the sitars in the beginning with the saber entrance, he added all that in
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
He
very cool. That's
Hmm.
he
why. Okay, so that makes sense because I was like, it's a Radiohead song. But now you're
Yeah.
saying that you added all this stuff over, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, it makes more sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Radiohead the Pyramid Song was a choral version, in the original or the beginning of the show was a choral version that we had found, and then the end of the show, the flag feature was the actual Radiohead version. But there was tons. I wanted to say it was
He
like
also added in the reading of the Fibonacci sequence. That's the numbers throughout the show.
yeah. He did I wanted to say added 20 or 30 tracks on top of it of
Oh,
instruments that he played and composed and stuff over top of it. He's quite wonderful at what he does.
People that can write music just blow my mind. I mean, even somebody just, when you're talking like pop music, like Taylor Swift, like how do you write these songs? Like how do you get this
Right.
stuff in your head? Like,
Right.
I don't even know where to start.
right?
Yeah, so I was a little nervous because we had cut everything before. I knew Ben had worked on some other groups, like Greg was the designer at Ben Davis High School a few years ago, and they had some really successful years in open class. And I know Ben had done some soundtrack creation for them that was pretty amazing, but I had never
Directly worked with them.
directly
Like,
worked with him or had something, after we had just had the success. I was a little nervous about it, but then when I got the first cut, he's like, it's really rough or whatever. It blew me away. And I was like, yes, please, more of this. And I knew who's a winner, and I look forward to working with him lots in the future. But he knocked it out of the park soundtrack wise.
I love it when it comes across and like, this is a rough cut, but take a listen and you're like, and you think it's like absolutely amazing.
right. And
You're just,
I'm like, girl, this is better than if I even tried. It's
you're like, what do you mean this needs edits? It sounds great.
like
So, like I said, I mentioned before, I loved your theming. I thought it was very clear. Now, early in the season, I was recapping and I was watching on the flow camera, which is very difficult to see a lot of stuff that's on the floor. So, turns out it was the Fibonacci sequence on your floor because it had the almost like a view of like an Egyptian eye hieroglyph at one point, and then my friend Will was like, "Oh, kind of like a scarab beetle," and I'm like, "Maybe it's the Fibonacci sequence," but that's flow camera stuff.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
the divine proportion was kind of hidden in there. So that was also about it being a feeling. And we found the piece of music and in the title, Pyramid Song, clearly there was some pyramid imagery. So that kind of took us down the road of what we wanted to do visually. And then Greg was intrigued on the divine ratio because he's really adept in doing research on the material that we're doing. And we had both started looking, and he had talked about the Fibonacci sequence and how the golden ratio was used in the creation and of
of
the
the pyramids.
pyramids and how it's kind of all encompassing in nature. And we thought that was really cool. And so that definitely was incorporated into the show. And then we tried to play off of some of the words of what trying to digest what the song Pyramids song is about, the Radiohead lyrics. So I know one of your questions was the ending flag. The beginning of the show is I jumped into the river and what did I see? Black-eyed angels staring at me. So the first flag, was this teal, watery looking flag with a bunch of black eyes on it. And then that feature flag was an angel that's looking down, kind of from above. So we just wanted to give a little nod to the original artist and try to tie all of these things together. Some people got it, some people didn't.
I
Um,
mean, the flags are beautiful. I mean, I didn't
they
know they were
were.
black eyes. I thought they were like water droplets. So I wasn't far off, I guess, with the water
Oh,
theme.
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Granted, but I'm also a high camera. I don't watch multicam, so I don't get the close-ups because
Yeah.
they always focus on somebody bending over on the side instead of somebody spinning on the floor. So I'm just like, I just stick with the high
Right.
cam.
Right.
And I thought the ending flag it looked to me like an African violet, which I felt fit with the theming of the show, just
Mhm.
because the way the
Yeah.
shapes, the pinks and the purples, like, oh, they look like African violets. And then nope, but still beautiful.
It was the colors popped really well against the floor. I was a little skeptical at first because of how bright. I just never would have picked those, but they were beautiful against the floor. I my tendency maybe would have to muted them and they would have blended in and I would have hated it. But that's experience. That's where Greg as a designer has a lot more years of experience to know what's going to look good, in a big arena from far away. So
Yeah.
he
Trust the
knocked it.
process.
Yeah.
I do want to ask what the meaning of that white and gold banner that kind of comes across the floor with like the rifle performer? Because
Yeah.
once again, I'm a high camera and I was like,
Yep.
I don't know, I can't see what's on it. So I was just curious because
Yeah, we printed a wall of like hieroglyphic wall. So it was supposed to be like during that section, there was a lot of reverb and echo into the soundtrack, and it was almost like reverberating. So to me, that was kind of like if you were in the pyramid in the tunnels going through it. So it was the hieroglyphics against it, but we wanted to experiment with leading your eye as we're doing that. We had this wall that was moving, the sabers in front of it were canning. There
It's
was a
like
cannon,
dissipating.
and
Um,
kind of tearing it apart. There was a flag cannon leading over to that moment. So that was something that we wanted to try and see
to
if
figure
it
it out,
worked or
yeah.
not. We had a fantastic performer that was killing it and
Shout
moving
out to
across.
Teray,
Yeah.
Teray Ivy.
Um, so it was a choice to see this. Some people got it. We had a lot of questions about it. We kept looking at it, but it was like, this is something we want to try and see and take a risk. And I thought it was interesting and different than what we try. I don't know if everybody got it. If they didn't, that's okay. We'll learn from it and figure out how to make it more clear and accessible.
Yeah, I was sure there was something on it, but I should go back and watch the multi-cam. I'm sure there's a copy out there, but I
Hmm.
was just curious because even when I saw the person, I'm like, when is this banner going across the floor? And with at the Indy regional, you don't get a multi-cam, so you're just
No,
you're going off that far back right corner camera. That's
You have to
right.
squint to
you
watch
have to
anything.
squint to figure out what everything is.
Yeah.
So you ended up placing eighth this year, which I said I think this needs an asterisk because Independent Open was so crazy strong this year. And I
It
Yes.
mean,
was.
I was recapping the Independent Open finals and we got to Noir, and I'm like, they were seventh. Like, you just like Revival was eighth, Noir was seventh, like all these super quality shows. And it's just like, wow, like Independent Open was crazy strong this year.
It was.
Um, and I had you in my top five pre-Dayton predictions. I did.
Well,
So,
thank you.
yeah. What were your expectations going into the season? Were you expecting to improve on sixth, or were you just kind of
We
go
were
with the flow?
hoping. Yeah, that was the goal. I mean, we definitely tried to up the ante in every aspect. The color guard was stronger, it was larger, the
Well,
performers were
yeah.
better. We tried to write same level of sophistication, but we took more risk, and I thought there was more demand on the performers and demand on the staff because we were doing more. The show from a construction standpoint was way more complex than the year before, and that was our goal, was to try to be at the top of the class or demonstrate that we're serious and that we wouldn't just be a one hit wonder in the classification. So,
We did not expect open class to be as hard as it was this year, but I am proud of what we held on to though. Like we stayed in the game, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about the eighth place. I mean, our score was about 2 points higher. We were almost box five. My goal was to be box five in every caption, and we were scratching there in almost every caption. So that was the big thing, was to keep driving forward, give the kids a good experience, give the kids in the audience something that they liked, either performing or viewing, and then just to continue to be artistic with, and like I said, continue to create our identity in the style of show that we put out, and to grow and to be able to take more artistic risk in our shows. And I think we did that. The number is a byproduct. We can't really control that, but the feedback from the judging community was strong and positive, and just as strong and positive as it was the year before. So I don't think going from sixth to eighth place is a real.
Considering our score was higher too. That just shows how much better open class was this year.
Yeah, I think the top seven all broke 90, which is
Yeah.
Yeah.
crazy. I mean,
Right.
And I did kind of enjoy that it was challenging us as a staff to force us to think outside of the box, to make us look at sections that maybe weren't complete or could have been better, and forced us to deal with those sooner and made us think outside the box and grow there as well.
absolutely, yeah. And like I said, it's eighth place. You don't want to focus on the placement. I mean, you look at the show; it
Mhm.
was insanely good. And I mean, just like you said, just a tough year for the class. I mean, when everybody brings their A game, it's
Right?
the pieces got to fall somewhere. So,
Right.
any favorite moments of the show or fun tidbits people may have missed? I can tell you my favorite was that like body ripple, the back bends into the floor with that huge rifle toss in the corner.
Yes.
So simple, but just so effective. And I think that's my favorite thing in color in general. You have a simple moment, but it's just so effective. And just that ripple, 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 sky high toss, crack. I'm like, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think for me, there were moments in the beginning or throughout the show because we tried different things. Like the whole beginning was this big ethereal development we called it the serpent. The color guard starts really organically, and then just this big S curve developed through the floor and stuff. And there weren't really any counts to that. We had mock counts when we were staging it, but that was all based off of feel and stuff. And I think into that first saber moment, and I really liked the beginning.
I love the Saber book. That is one of my highlights.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite section of the show. I really enjoyed the crowd reaction in that middle section, because the music was something, it was different for us, for the crowd to get back. The crowd reaction when they did that body hinge, the
Love
body
watching fools
roll.
lose their minds. I always watch the audience at that part at
Yeah.
every show, and I loved it.
Into Prince, the rifle performer in the back. He's a fantastic performer, and watching him live in that moment, with the crowd reaction was great. And then I liked the ending just because we challenged ourselves with the flag development, the layers passing over, there was a flag layer coming from the back of the floor,
And they're
one coming from the side.
passing through windows that entire development too.
Yeah. So that was a challenge while also doing that. And then we took a risk at the end of the show because, our first go-to was to put everybody on flag. And Greg's like, no, I want to leave a rifle line out there. And I was like, well, this is the flag moment, when you listen to it. And that was a challenge. And I learned a lot in the construction of the end of the show to be different, to not do the standard thing, put everybody, because that would have been the go-to, is to put everybody. But no, we kept a rifle line out there and created effect through that. The ending in Dayton was absolutely
I love their
memorable.
little surprise at the end that we added in finals morning.
Yeah.
The sand.
Our last performer, she came out of the clear sheer fabric pyramid, she had the sand and glitter in her hands and stuff. And to hear the crowd reaction to that, because the only time we did it was finals. So finals morning, we like have buckets and brooms, and we're trying it 18 times.
Pictures of me mopping up the sand
at our rehearsal site, and giving the kids something that they're excited about, because that's something we had talked about doing but didn't tell them until finals morning. We just showed up, and I had a big tub of glitter sand that we had been mixing, and it's still all over my vehicle and stuff. We opened the tarp for the first time at a clinic, and there's a big pile from finals still. So that was a cool moment to enjoy, and just watching the kids that have experienced finals for the first time. So there's not one particular moment, it's a handful of moments for me.
Which there was a large group of kids this year who had never been to finals before or performed in Dayton, so that was a really special moment for them.
Yeah, it was over half the color guard had never been on the floor.
Wow, well, they handled it like pros.
Yeah,
I'm
really proud of them.
Do you have any fun traditions in the guard, or maybe at shows?
The captains handle most of those. One we do is just our chant before we go onto the floor that they always get really hype about doing, but they do have bigs and littles. We do the Christmas outings, probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. We try to make sure throughout the season we do things with the group. We take them out to eat a few times, and we always have a holiday at the end of our holiday camp, our staging camp. We go and we take them to see lights and stuff like that. And
there's a drive-through like Christmas light show at the
Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
That we go.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we buy their tickets like and they all carpool, and it's really fun.
We do that. We have little things that we do. We always, in warm up, we do our across the floors and body warm up. But then we have one where they pair up and we play, and they prance, and they have 8 counts of improv that they do with their partner to bust a move. And it's just to kind of get them relaxed and kind of get them to wind down and de-stress. So we've started little things like that we do every year and stuff like that. But what's really cool is the members. Every cast makes their own things that they do throughout the season. We have a revival chant that we do right when we're going on, and every year they add a little something to it.
The end of it.
And stuff. So that's kind of cool. Eventually 10 years we'll have to shorten it down because it can be 4 minutes long. Right. But yeah, the members are really great about creating those traditions and those bonds too.
Awesome. And what's the overall vibe of the guard? Are you like more relaxed, serious, kind of crazy, kooky?
I would say relaxed, but they know when to turn it on. it's kind of I kind of give them the teacher look of I'll wait and then they get ready, but I'd say more relaxed and fun.
Yeah, Revival is from the
Interesting.
beginning, it's been a place of this has got to be our fun space. They're spending their money, we're spending our time not making any money doing it. It's our labor of love. So I've always had the saying, when it's not fun, we don't want to do it. And we're about business. We'll hold them accountable, but the big thing is theirs, we want them to feel valued and to feel like they belong. That's the big thing. The independent thing is a lot different than high school because the members that we have, at least, are very self-motivated.
We're very heavy on self accountability and holding them to what the revival standard is, and when we see that they're not being their best, and trying to push them to their personal best and what we see could be their personal best.
The atmosphere is always pretty relaxed. We like to have a good time. There'll be story breaks and stuff like that amongst the staff with the members. They'll a lot of times try to get us off topic, but that's every color guard.
Oh
We've
yeah.
all been in those. So, it's a good
we do
time.
we do like to establish that bond with the members to where we want them to feel comfortable to come to us if there is a problem, or if they have a question, or if they need to confide in us in something. We like to build those bonds and make sure that happens, but we also like to draw the line of like, hey, it's time to get down to business right now. Like we have a lot of stuff to do. I love you, but we have stuff to do. So
No, I
Yeah.
get that 100%. And yeah, my personal mantra was, especially when I was teaching, I would say to my kids, why do we do color guard? And they always say back, because it's fun. It's like you want to keep that mentality. Because, like you said, once it's not fun anymore, why are we here?
right,
Right.
exactly.
Why are we here? So, what is the program's focus philosophy when it comes to teaching? Is it fun? Is it growth? Is it winning? Is it building better people?
I told the members the first year we started the color guard that no matter what classification they were in, that the staff would give our best to give them a world-class experience. Um, and I think we're stick to that no matter what. Our ultimate goal is to eventually be in the show Saturday night on the big stage. And that's what we aspire to do. But every year is to just be a little bit better version of a color guard and to be a little more creative and entertaining. That's kind of our goal. And then whatever happens as a byproduct happens. Yes, it's a competitive activity and we want to grow and we want to be better, but that's not the reason that drives us. I tell my personal goal is for the color guard to be liked and for people to want to be in the group. And as long as the shows are enjoyable and people like them and there are performers that want to come, I think we're doing what we need to do. Or I'm satisfied, at least, because some of my favorite shows that I performed in ever weren't ones that won, or it wasn't about that. It was the people stopping me, talking about how amazing they thought the show was or that we were. So those are the things. I don't remember any of the placements or anything like that.
And I'm really heavy on the you have to be good people first. Like you can be good at color guard all you want, but if we're nasty about it, or if we're not welcoming to kids who want to join or just other members, then why are you here? Kind of thing.
Yeah, you got to have a good culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you won't have a color guard anymore.
Right.
Yes.
So you both have an incredible marching history, depth of quality programs. I mean, Sam, you marching Center Grove. I mean, that just speaks in and of itself. You can, add Onyx and everything too. But do you pull from those experiences in your own teaching style, both good and bad?
I do. Yes. Obviously the vibe at everywhere I've marched is always slightly different. Like the vibe from Blue Stars to Phantom was completely different. Both in good ways, though. Like both taught me different things. And then the vibe at Onyx is obviously different than in high school. I say Onyx really taught me discipline and to not be afraid to think outside the box and to challenge yourself and challenge the activity. Phantom really taught me how to use my breath and just be happy performing, like show yourself in your performance, be authentic in what you're doing. And Blue Stars really challenged me. That was more of like a physical and mental challenge. They pushed me to go further than I have.
Because
And
that's when you were under Shapiro, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it really pushed me to go further than I ever thought I could. And it made me realize that I'm more capable than I think I am. And then Center Grove really taught me just the foundation of what you need to be successful in harder choreography. Like they really taught me the importance of basics, your technique, because if you don't have technique, you don't have a floor to stand on. To be good at those exercises to even move forward too.
I think for me, I marched a lot of different color guards when I was coming up. Like I said, I didn't do color guard in high school, so I felt like I was always behind. So I was typical one of those backyard Bettys that had to work twice as hard because like I said, I just lacked experience. So I jumped at every opportunity I could to learn from as many fantastic people as possible. And I'm very grateful that I got to march as many places as I did. Sometimes I regret not being at one place for a few years and like having history there, but I'm grateful because I think I learned a lot of valuable things from some of the best designers and directors and educators in the activity. The whole big thing for me with the revival and why I picked the name revival is because everybody that we bring on are amazing performers and amazing educators. And I want revival to be the best quality. I want the organization to be a revival of all of these great experiences that these people have. I want revival to be parts of each of the color guards that I marched under that mean so much to me. It's a revival of hopefully the best qualities of everybody. It's not just one, but it's a little bit of everybody, and then we take our spin on it. That's kind of my hope and dream.
I'd love that. And shout out to all the backyard Betties out there, because you know what? Those are the kids that go the furthest. Teaching in Northern Virginia, you're an fellow AIA person. There's not a
Yeah,
ton of good programs here. They're hit or miss, but most of it's
right.
not.
We weren't
And
no Center Grove
right,
in the
no, we're no
Carolinas,
Center
like
Grove, no Onyx or anything here. But
right.
I had a couple students. One of my students marched with Paramount, got a gold medal. I had a student that marched with an independent A guard, got a gold medal. I had a student that marched with Black Watch Independent World, and they were all backyard Betties. They were
Mhm.
the kids that just they loved color guard. And they were like, I'm going to go outside and spin. I'm going to get better. And I think, especially with TikTok nowadays, now those backyard Betties can put it out there for everybody else to see. And you get people like Max from Fantasia who's pushing the
Yes.
activity so far because all these kids want to be like him.
Yeah.
Right.
And, I didn't have that growing up. I aged out in 2003. So
I was on the verge of like I had a I had a pink razor phone in high school. Like I couldn't even record myself or put it out there, which I'm slightly grateful for, but I also wish I had those resources as a kid too.
absolutely. I mean, you don't want to sound old, but kids these days don't know how great they have it. I mean, we didn't have I mean, I had AOL where you were still, took up your phone line. There was
Yeah.
no YouTube, nothing like that. So
Hmm.
it was really what you learned is what your instructor taught you and going outside
Right.
and
Right.
just trying new things on
Or
your
Or
own.
I would rewind like VHS tapes and the
yes.
old WGI DVDs, and I would try to teach myself sometimes backwards things that I was watching.
Yep.
So
They don't know those struggles of having to
no.
like have a TV by a window or something or by the door and you're rewinding to learn a part or marking up the ceiling in your house because
Oh yeah.
you're in the
My
living room.
parents' house still has marks on their ceiling. They
Like
have
I
not
can throw
changed.
a triple in. Nope, I can't.
No.
Whoops.
Right.
Do you have any plans to add another group to the Revival family? Maybe an A or a regional A guard, or is it?
Hopefully.
Yeah, I think down the road we've talked about it, and that is definitely a hope. It's one when we have the membership and the numbers to do that, and then also the staffing to support that. I don't.
Which is which was our challenge last year.
Yeah, we wanted
And
to, and we're planning on it, but then the numbers weren't there, and our big thing was making sure that even though there's a second guard, they don't feel like a second guard. They're another guard in a different class. Eventually we want to get revival to where there are multiple classes so they can work up. There are kids. I started in independent A. I didn't have the skill set or anything to march a world guard right off the bat. So I'm thankful I had a place to go to and grow to. First flight, my first year, we started in A and were reclassified after the last regional of the season and competed in Dayton in open class. But I'm very grateful for that because I received a lot of training and got an opportunity that helped me grow into being a world class performer. So I want eventually the organization to have a chance where if members aren't ready yet for the open or hopefully one day the world team that we plan on having, that they have somewhere where they can build the skills and we help them get there to where that they can grow and move throughout the program.
Which I want to shout out to our our A members who were in the A guard last year that we had to move up to the open guard. They really stepped up to the plate, and one of them ended up being on the main weapon line in one of those rifles.
A
And
fantastic performer.
yes, and rose to the expectation. All of them did.
And that was we cast some members and we're planning on bringing out an A team and then had some members that kind of fell through and stuff and it was one of those where I was like I don't think the experience would have been worth it, so we had a conversation with them and said, we're
Here's the
not doing this.
situation.
Yeah, we're not doing this. We'd like you to have a role in the open guard. It's going to take some extra work, and all the kids looked us square in the eye and said that they were willing to put in the work, and they did. And it was we never looked back once. I don't regret taking any of those kids into that. I think we made the right choice, and they grew immensely, and I'm super proud of them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Since you all did recently start an independent group, you're 4 years in now. What are some bits of advice you have for people out there that want to start their own program?
Make sure you get a staff that you can trust and confide in, and have that really
You got to have a good support system.
people that you're comfortable communicating with, especially from like when you have disagreements on design or choreography or whatever. Have people that are willing to collaborate and that you're comfortable collaborating with.
Don't be afraid to reach out when it comes to the logistics of stuff. Do your research and ask questions. There's a lot that you don't know until you're in it. And even if you do ask questions, that's the big thing. It's all figuring it out, but I have plenty of people that I've worked with and taught with that have successful independent programs that I call all the time. And if you don't, call the WGI office and ask somebody there, they've been a great resource. But yeah, just don't be afraid to ask because the biggest thing that I ask because I don't want to let the membership down because it's not about me. That's the biggest thing. Then make sure that you're on top of the rehearsal space thing. I think that is the independent guard killer is finding rehearsal space. So we're very fortunate to have a great facility and a great situation right now, but that makes it where it's reasonably affordable for the kids because I don't know what we would do if we didn't have this situation that we have now.
Would you say that was the biggest challenge you faced with creating the program was just rehearsal space and
Yes, I think so. I think that's the hardest obstacle. I think once you've done that and you've got all the paperwork and the insurance and you're registering and all of that, it's
That's
pretty good.
the
The teaching is the easy part for me. That's the fun part. It's the logistics and the planning and having to buy a trailer and
making
all of
sure
the good
you have a
stuff.
good lawyer to set up your bylaws too. And if you can, hire a financial advisor to help you with the financials as well, which is something right now we're doing on our own, but we're learning a lot through that. But having someone to talk to in the legalities and the financials is a plus.
most surprising thing you encountered when creating the program? Maybe something that really was unexpected?
Well, for us, it's been the support. I
Yes.
feel like the activity has been super supportive. Our competitors, we've become great friends with Levoot.
Yes.
I remember this past year at the Indy Regional, they were walking and we were warming up and just playing music and having fun. And we did a tunnel for them and creating that was unexpected for me. I thought, people would be very competitive mindset, but we are one that we want to support everybody. And I think getting that love back has been really surprising and exciting.
Yeah, I love the change in the sport. I mentioned
Yeah,
I'm an old head. Back in my day, you did not love your competitors.
right.
Same.
You were focused and you did not clap for them. And you
Or
know,
you weren't even allowed to say like good luck in the hallways. I remember
yeah,
those
no,
days
no, you
too.
don't talk to them. What,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah. So I do want to talk about your circuits, just because lots of people have always reached out and said they're fascinated by how different circuits work. So I always like to include it. And so we're actually going to talk about two circuits because so you compete in MIPA, which is the Mideast Performance Association, but then there's also the IHSCGA, which is the Indiana High School Color Guard Association. Just for people listening, the IHSCGA has all the Scholastic World groups in it that you've heard of. There's Avon, Carmel, Warren Central, Northview, Center Grove, Fishers, and then you've got Noblesville, Brownsburg, Franklin Central. So many mind-blowing color guards in one circuit, but it's only for high schools.
Yeah.
But I think Adam, you had mentioned they let independent groups like do exhibition performances, or how does that work? Like,
Yeah, well, the circuit, I'm actually a member of the board of the circuit, and I've learned a lot in the last few years. The circuit is pretty huge. Most shows, the circuit every weekend has two shows in different parts of the state. I think there's normally each weekend about 70 color guards that compete
wow,
at each
At each
show.
show.
at each show, wow,
Yeah. So the purpose of the circuit is to serve those high schools first.
Because it's
And
the
they
Indiana
welcome,
high school.
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But they welcome all the time. Any show we're allowed to buy into and perform an exhibition, and we get tapes and a score and all of that,
Right.
and we can perform in the rotation. They
Yeah.
just let the high school units register first. So if the show's at capacity, we unfortunately have to go to a show that's not full, which is totally understandable. I get it. It's a great thing for the circuit. It can be frustrating at times for the independent teams because we're right here in the Indianapolis area and we can't get into shows because they're so full. But the circuit has been great about making us feel welcome when we're there and letting us perform. They let us perform at state finals and exhibition. They let lots of independent groups, there's independent A guards, independent open, independent world guards that come and perform at state finals and stuff. It's one of those things. It's because the circuit is huge and it's kind of at capacity. I don't know any circuit that would have three shows a weekend. That's what it would need for us to continue, for that to be a possibility, I believe.
Yeah, that's you say like 70 guards at each. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. So you regularly compete in MIPA. And for notable groups in there, Scholastic, you have Miamisburg, Bellbrook, Mason High School, Northmont, and then in an independent side, you have Revival, obviously, Juxtaposition. And looking through scores, I saw Phoenix pop up in there and Pride of Cincinnati. Are they part of the circuit, or is it just because of that area, everybody kind of intertwines through different circuits?
I think it depends on the year. Like I think there's been
A lot of it's
specific
the schedule.
years. I know there have been years where I believe Phoenix has been a member of the circuit. I know Juxta was. We wanted to give the Revival members and experience a championship local feel. So that's why we take them over. There's also great facilities. They have great panels. The MIPA circuit is super supportive and they have a great staff that wants us to be there. It was a no-brainer to go over. And there are great color guards that are independent and scholastic that are a member of that circuit as well. So our big thing was I wanted them to be well rounded and to get in front of as many groups and in as many venues and to get as many performance opportunities as possible. So that was part of the reasoning on doing both.
How far do you have to travel for a MIPA show? Like, is it a lot farther? Because, you're in the Indy
Um,
area, obviously, but
Not
About
really.
two
Just
2 hours, I think, is the max that we've had to drive.
oh,
So
that's not bad.
no, not bad. What's great also is the MIPA circuit has a lot of Sunday shows. They have shows on Saturdays and Sundays. So there are weekends where we try to prepare Revival for WGI weekend, where it's a Saturday, Sunday. We'll do an IHSCGA show on Saturday, do a quick rehearsal in the morning, touch on a few things, and then get in the car and drive to Dayton on a Sunday to do a Sunday show
Oh, interesting.
there.
Yeah,
So
that's very
yeah, it's a
cool.
lot of great opportunities. It lets us get exposure in both circuits.
the kids want to perform, so why not give them more opportunities?
Absolutely, yeah. Is there another circuit past MIPA? I don't know the geography. So does MIPA cover most
Um,
of Ohio or
there's
Indy?
OIPA, which is another Ohio circuit, but we don't compete in
I
that
think
one.
they're a
I did
little
with I,
further
but
north, I believe. MIPA seems to be in that central Ohio area. We stick around the Dayton area is where a good number of their shows. And we go to those shows because they're accessible. They're right off the interstate. It's an easy drive for us to get there and back. So that's why we chose. It's the easiest travel. We'd like to explore possibly some tri-state shows in the future. It's just trying to work out logistics and all of that.
So I do want to ask kind of about the Indianapolis area because that is like I said, I called it Color Guard Mecca. What is it about that area that makes Color Guard so good? I mean, you have so many world programs in such a small area. Like, what is it about that area?
I think it's one, the school size. I'm from, like I said, a small town in North Carolina where it was like 1,000 to 1,500 students was a big school. But like at Franklin Central, we're approaching 3,500 students. I think Carmel is
about the same.
about the same,
Center Grove's about the same and
yeah.
getting bigger.
So I think there are bigger numbers, so there's more resources possibly. There's great educators. I don't know when it happened or how it happened, but I grew up going to Bands of America regionals and a lot of these powerhouse schools are here. It's always been as far as I know. I'm sure there was a time where it wasn't, but
I do think the proximity to Dayton, like the grand finale of Color Guard, helps too. People want to be close by there, so instructors move up here to be
That makes
close.
sense.
So
the
I mean, yeah, I mean,
schools,
Center Grove's been around since the early, I mean,
yeah.
been top of the world since the early 90s. I mean, it's just, I mean,
yeah,
and then you have Northview that's been around forever. And it's like,
yes,
and then Avon and Carmel popped up, and it's just like, and now you have Warren Central and Fishers, and it's just like,
yes.
like what's in the water there?
Well,
Yeah,
and I
Somebody
do
from
think,
Northern Virginia. It's like, what are y'all doing?
right.
yeah. Well, and I do think because those programs have been around for so long, they're producing like more instructors who stay in the area and, establish those programs as well.
Yeah,
So,
the top programs push the rest of us to be better. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a self-feeding cycle. I do know because of the townships, we're very fortunate at Franklin Central. Like we just opened a new band wing that's huge. You can fit a full 60 by 90 tarp in the band room and throw sevens. And now they're building a field house with 4 basketball courts and an indoor turf field and stuff like that. So the resources I think are the big thing. And where there are resources, you will find band people. Educators flock to those areas. Texas has a lot of those resources. Unfortunately, where I'm from doesn't. It's a lot harder where I grew up to have those resources, so the programs don't thrive as long.
That makes sense. I mean, we're both from AIA, and I get it. Northern Virginia is just, I mean, North Carolina's always been more successful than the Virginia Guards,
Hmm.
but same thing here. It's we don't have the resources. I can't imagine having a whole band wing and having that size of a
Right,
band room, or a field house.
right.
But I'm sure there's lots you want to tell us about this upcoming season. Where can we see you? Where will you be planning to perform? Socials, website, all that information.
So we are on Facebook and Instagram primarily. I am I'm slowly figuring out a TikTok. I'm a millennial. Give me some grace. Um,
I will say I've talked to a lot of people and they let the kids run the TikTok. They set it up and they're like, you guys just have fun. You guys create them, whatever. You put them out there.
yeah. I
So
thought about giving the access to the captains, but I still have access to just monitor, what's on there. But our Instagram handle is at Revival WG. And same thing with our Facebook. And our website is revivalwinterguard.com.
We are planning on performing in at IHS CGA events, being full members of the MIPA circuit again. We're doing both Indy regionals, and our plan is to also attend the Chicago regional as well as World Championships.
awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Those indie regionals are amazing just because, they're almost like a mini Dayton, because
Yes.
like
Yeah,
we're talking listing all those programs that are there and it's like you get to see them all. So
right.
Yes.
any humble brags or anything special shout outs you'd like to make about your group or your season you'd like to share?
No, I just want to thank you for giving us this opportunity. I was
Yes.
I was it's awesome to see a podcast and a place that's so supportive of everybody and so well spoken. And like I said, I listened to you the first time after the WGI, the recap and stuff, and I was like, this is amazing place. And I reached out and said thank you, and I absolutely wanted to give you a plug for kind of devoting your time and energy because I know it takes a lot of work, to give groups like us, little groups like us exposure and stuff. So we're forever grateful.
I don't know if I'd call you a little group, but no, like you mentioned with Color Guard, it is my labor of love. It's my way of staying in the activity because I don't have the time to teach. And
Mm,
I honestly, I don't want to get involved with a high school program because it's so much work
it
and
is.
year round and everything. At least with independent, you just have winter, right? You can kind of take a break, spring, summer. But
Right.
with high school, it's year round. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. I don't. But I love it. And those recaps they were a lot of work, but I wanted to make sure I talked about everybody. I was like, I want everybody to get their flowers, I want everybody to be recognized. So that's why I did all 6 classes on 6 different episodes. And it was like, we need to get these out. So I'm not releasing them in July when people don't care about WGI anymore.
Right.
Well, yeah, and so I started there, and then I saw your kind of one-on-one with Orlando Visual, and I thought it was so well done. And that's a program that's the last organization that I marched with in my performing career. The first time before they took their 10-year hiatus. So it was really cool to see, and really neat that you take the time to talk and share programs.
Yeah,
I
I love
learned a
doing it
lot
though. Yeah.
from those. I've listened to your podcast with each group, and it's cool to hear everybody's labor of love and then to kind of be able to relate to in so many ways, but also learn things.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. That's like I like to ask people about their fun traditions because some guards do some wacky things, and it's just fun to hear that, and just hearing how they operate and how you got into the activity, and I just love it. And like I said, I'm a true color guard nerd. I can talk about it for hours, and I don't
Mhm.
have anybody really here to talk about it with, so that's why I do this. So
Right.
I love doing these. These are
Well,
my favorite ones to do.
you're our kind of people, so anytime you need a fix, let us know.
So I will close with my final question, and you might be the final people I ask this question because we are heading into the new WGI season. So, what was your favorite show from 2025 WGI? And don't
Oh
say
my
yourself.
gosh. Oh my gosh. The Woodlands. The Woodlands High School. I lost my mind. They were so good, and I cannot believe that those are high schoolers.
Right,
They're
right.
fantastic. So shout out to those kids.
Oh man, that's a tough one. I kind of been thinking about this one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that there's.
You can list a couple. I've had some people that just couldn't make up their mind, so they picked like an independent and a scholastic. But
Yeah, I have a lot of love for Etude. I taught there for 2 years and was involved in a little minute way. And I value those people, on staff, Emma and Brian, and Byron Valentine's a great designer and a great friend. He gave me a great opportunity, and job. Zydeco as a performer, and then I worked under him a little bit at Fred J. Miller for a while. So I'm always a big fan of that team. So that's probably my favorite independent world class team over throughout time, just because I've got connections to both the designer and the staff. So I would say that's probably my favorite of the year.
yeah, and that flag
Absolutely.
line was
Yes. Chef's kiss.
amazing.
I also thought I really enjoyed Fantasia this past year. I
Yes.
thought they were fantastic. I really liked Paramount, as always. They're cool. They always have their identity, and I really dig that too. So many like Independent World, so entertaining. I love everybody for their own thing. So
I do have to. It's my soft spot for Center Grove. I thought they were fantastic. That silent flag feature that
That
they
silent
did.
feature, yes.
Yes.
yeah,
And I love that they're making a comeback. They've
Yes.
been very up and down. They were
Yes.
15th last year and they jumped to I don't know, was it 8th this year or something like that. I don't or 10.
Mhm.
There were like 15 ties in Scholastic World, so I don't remember where they ended up.
Yes.
right.
But yeah, long storied program and loved it.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, we love it all. I think everybody is pushing as hard as they can, and there's a ton of great color guard.
Ton of it, especially in your area. I'm jealous. I can imagine going to a local show and seeing Avon caramel, like just like at a local show. Like that's just mind blowing
Come
to
on up.
Come to
me.
with us to an IHSCGA show sometime.
Right? I can imagine going to their state finals. Like I was like when I was looking like at the scores, like I'm trying to find out who's in what circuit. So I pull up like
Mhm.
championship scores, and I'm just like, you look at just it Scholastic World. I'm like, my God,
Right.
like
It's a fun time.
Yeah, like well, and it's crazy and it's competitive and all. Like they're like typical year. There's 70 regional A color guards most years. There's 30 to 40 Scholastic A guards. There's 15
Oh,
open
no,
guards.
the open class is getting way bigger. I remember the days when there were only like 6 open guards in
Yeah.
Indiana.
There's
So,
I think last year 13 or so. So I mean it's a great area to be in. We're very fortunate, and like I said, it pushes us to be better every year.
yeah, and they're going to keep moving up. I mean, Noblesville's going to World, and
Yeah.
hmm
and I don't see any of those guards moving down. They're too
No.
successful. They've
No.
been there for too long. Like so, they
Right.
just keep adding to the group.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much. This has been wonderful. So once again, go follow Revival. Keep an eye out for them. Unfortunately, this will probably come out after your audition, so we won't plug your auditions, but I will put on socials beforehand. I've been trying to push everybody's audition dates out there. Just
hmm
extra eyes. I'm trying to keep the activity alive. Anything I can do to help with recruitment for any guard, like I'm here for you. I'm a little resource. I'm not much, but I'm something.
No, we appreciate you a ton.
So I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And that's going to do it for today's episode. Make sure to give Revival a follow and show them lots of love. I have included links to their past 2 performances in the show notes, so check those out as well. We are knee deep in audition season, so good luck to everyone. Remember to relax, breathe, and have fun. Most importantly, have fun. Lastly, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate and review the podcast wherever you listen. I'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode, so until then, stay safe, stay fabulous, and remember, at the end of the day, it's just flags in a gym.